Hey, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about Kill the Moonlight by Spoon. Now this is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I'm wearing my Spoon shirt right now. This album was the fourth studio album by Spoon, right after Girls Can Tell, which is a great record, a really great record, maybe I'll talk about in a future video even. But Spoon, on their first two records, they were more, I would say, underground, garage, indie, and now they moved into different territories with this record. It had a lot of different aspects that make it great, and we'll get into that. There's definitely a minimalistic approach on this album. The way that it sounds, it's very bare in terms of instruments, but there's so much going on with the production that Jim Eno does. I believe Jim and Britt Daniel, they did the production. The singer, guitar player Britt Daniel, and the drummer Jim Eno, who produces and records and engineers Spoon stuff. They did the production on this album, and a lot went into it, and you could really tell. So this album was following a breakup with their label, Elektra Records, and this album was put out on Merge Records, who, you know, they made a good choice with that, because if you're dropped from a label, you know it's not a great feeling. You know, Spoon was riding off of some success from Girls Can Tell. It had Everything Hits at Once on it, which was a single. With this record, we'll talk about the song that got them really on the map, and that song is The Way We Get By. And you still hear the song today, played not necessarily on the radio, but you hear it in some commercials and pop culture. I think instead of letting the label drop defeat Spoon, they used it to further their progress in their career, because the first two records, in my opinion, they're more similar to other bands of that time period. The vibe that I'm picking up on was maybe Pavement or Built to Spill, some of those kind of bands. The third record sounds more like Spoon to me, and I think that the piano really does that for them. And they use piano and organ and keyboard on this album a lot. And I think when that was implemented into their sound, they really came into fruition of what Spoon was and is. They use a lot of different instruments on stage, to say the least, to get their studio sound translated onto the stage. This album came out right after they got dropped from their label, and it came out on August 20th, 2002. And this was a time period where a lot of bands like The Strokes, Modest Mouse, Interpol were making their albums. I personally, out of those three bands listed, I don't listen to too much of them. I've listened to The Strokes' first record, which I really like. Interpol I've seen live with Spoon, actually, and they're really good. They have some good records. And Modest Mouse I don't really know much about, to be honest. I know their singles, and I know the one album that's most popular by them, but that's about it. But they were all boundary pushing, and Spoon just broke the mold, and they really are the, not to put a pun in there, but they were the underdog in all of it. And I know, but they they really stood apart with their approach. Now this album has stripped down arrangements with really jagged and rough piano on it that has a gritty texture. Songs like the first song, Small Stakes, it has this really like you're running from someone feel. It has this feel of, okay, what's happening here? And when the vocals come in, we have this panning effect that they do with the production, and it goes from right to left or left to right. And when the drums come in, it's this drum fill that you wouldn't think would work in the song, but it works perfectly. And it's a really tight drum sound that you get on this, but it's also very trippy. Now the lyrics on this album go from everyday reflection to cryptic storytelling. Now, The Way We Get By is just a story about how somebody hangs out and gets by, and he listens to the Stooges and gets high in the backseat of a car and breaks into mobile homes, and it's just that sort of story of youth and restless energy that youths have, I think. And the song Paper Tiger has a really emotional feel to it. I don't quite know if any other song on this album sounds like Paper Tiger. And there's actually a Beck song called Paper Tiger as well, which I love. And Spoon and Beck are pretty similar in terms of musicality. I think Beck definitely lends to what Spoon does, and I think they inspired each other. The song Stay Don't Go has beatboxing in it, and it's this really... When I first heard it, I didn't know what to think about it, because the way that it was mixed sounded, I was like, okay, this is obviously somebody using their mouth to drum, which is very cool in its own sense. And the fact that Spoon was doing it, I was going to give it a chance. And it's really hypnotic after a while when you listen to it, and it blends in so well with the guitar riff. And the vocals that come in are really stellar. And I love the song Stay Don't Go. Now, my favorite song on the album, Don't Let It Get You Down, this one is definitely a sleeper song, and I think that it could have been one of their biggest songs if given the proper treatment of being a single. Now, I just love the riffs in this song and the hooks, and it's so catchy to me. He says, don't let it get you down, and then it has this guitar riff that follows it, and it's just one of the most beautiful songs that I've ever heard. And the piano as well in it is so great. And it has this pitch shifted guitar sound that really does it. It really does it. I would definitely recommend listening to this song, if anything, off of this album. Give that one a listen. Start your Spoon journey by listening to that song, because I think Don't Let It Get You Down I think it's their best song that they have. Out of any of their songs, it's my favorite, and it always has been from the first time I heard it. Now, when this album came out, Pitchfork gave it a 8.6. They called it a sleek, focused masterpiece. I do think it's a masterpiece. I really do. From open to close, it really is a masterpiece. And I'm a firm believer in the album artwork, and I think that the album artwork is perfect. It's two hands reaching out, and whether or not this has any meaning, that's up to the listener to decide, but I don't have any explanation for it. I just know that when I think of this album, I think of the album cover. I think it's great. One of my favorite Spoon album covers is Transference, which there's an extensive video online, and it's somebody in a therapist chair listening to their therapist and sort of just sitting back and reflecting on what they're being told. And I think that's a really great video. I'll put a link to that in the bio. Now, there's also a video online of Spoon during the Girls Can Tell era, which I want to share in the bio, because seeing them rise from the level that they were at during this time period to where they're at now as an established touring band, it's a really cool thing to see. And there's a specific video of them in a club, and they just have this raw energy. And I believe that they're right off of their Girls Can Tell slight success. And their main success happened after Kill the Moonlight. This was with Gimme Fiction, which had some really great songs on it. It had Beast and Dragon Adored, which was not necessarily a single, but that song is great. And then their single on that was I Turned My Camera On, which is, you hear that a lot. You could go from hearing it in a mall to hearing it on a true crime documentary. You know, it's a chameleon of a song. If you have not heard Kill the Moonlight yet, definitely give it a listen, front to back. I think it's, for lack of a better term, perfect album. And I would give it a solid, in my opinion, it's a 10 of an album. And there are many different reasons for it. I could go on and on about it. This is just my sincerest, heartfelt sentiments on the album. And it came to me in a really vulnerable point in my life as I was going through some stuff. And it really took me out of that dark place. And I would hope that it could do the same for you if you listen to it, you know, because I think that's what music does best. It takes us from one place to another, and it's a journey. So this album does just that. It has the ebbs and flows, it has the lyrics, it has the production, it has the guitars, the bass, the drums, the keys, it has all of it. And I think it's a great record, a really, truly great record. And that's about it for today. I just wanted to talk about Kill the Moonlight a little bit. Thanks for watching. If you want me to talk about any other records, please let me know. I'm up for anything. So thanks so much.